Welcome to this month's episode of Beachside Chat. I'm your host, John W. Coffey. Thank you for tuning in and for those who gave comments about the last episode. This month we have another great guest, Linda Johnson, the city's fire marshal and code enforcement officer, is with us. Welcome, Linda, and briefly introduce yourself to our viewers who may be new to IHB.
My name's Linda, fire marshal, as Mr. Coffey said. I've been in fire prevention for 20 years. I've been here at the city for 4 years now.
Well experienced, and Linda started just a little bit before I did here, so we're of the same era. She's senior to me in work-related age. That is, I would never make a comment about a lady's age on camera. So Linda, I know what a fire marshal does, but a lot of our folks who have never worked in government may wonder, what exactly does a fire marshal do?
Yeah, a lot of folks think we go out on the fires with the crews and help put out the fires, and that's not what I do. That's what the firefighters do. Other folks think fire marshal is the boss, and no, that's the fire chief. What the fire marshal does is basically we try to prevent the fires before the firefighters get called, and we do that through inspections, trying to make sure everybody follows the life safety code. We look for violations that could lead to significant hazards. They may be something as simple as a smoke alarm that's not working, or fire alarm system is going off and you're not sure why. That's part of what we do, is come in and make sure that those things are working correctly, that they've been inspected as they should. We make sure that the exit lights are working, emergency lights are working. We make sure all of those things that play a role in keeping us safe are actually there and in place per the code requirements as well.
And one of the things, Linda, that I've always appreciated about people who work in fire safety, and especially the fire marshals of each city, is the education that you do with businesses and people who live in multi-family residencies. Because a lot of people don't understand blocked exits or regulations dealing with assembly buildings versus storage buildings. And it all comes down to trying to make sure if that worst case scenario ever happens, people can get out safely.
That's exactly right. With every occupancy, there is a different hazard potential that's related to that. So we try to follow up with the annual inspections and make sure that all those things are taken care of and addressed. And then we also do public education and fire safety education, where we try to teach people exactly what you're talking about. We teach the children at school different things depending on their grade level. And also the HOA meetings, when they have their association meetings, they'll sometimes ask us to come and explain some of the things we find during inspections and why. And that has to do a lot with blocked exits, something in the path that would obstruct it, they may not see as a problem. So a lot of the public education programs that we do, they teach people a lot. So it brings it to the forefront of your mind, so you think about it.
One of the other aspects that Linda does is she's the code enforcement officer. Now, most larger cities have a fire marshal and fire inspectors, and then a head code enforcement official with one or more code enforcement officers. Here, Linda does both jobs within her 40 hours a week. So, Linda, I think most folks know about code enforcement, but I don't think a lot of people understand the process very well. Can you tell our viewers how the process works once you spot a violation or someone files out a complaint about a violation?
Yeah, so once we know about a violation, that's taken place, I'll go out and verify that that's actually what's happened. We'll provide a courtesy notice to the resident. And if they're home and I can get someone, I'll speak with them and explain what the ordinance violation is and that they're going to get in the mail a courtesy notice that will also explain and give them a time when they need to become compliant, when they need to fix whatever the violation is. And if that time frame comes to an end and they fixed it, that's it. There's no more discussion on that issue. If, however, they have not, then a notice of violation will then be sent to them. And that gives them a time frame to fix it again. And I go back out at the end of that time frame, see if they've accomplished it. If they haven't, we try to work with them, because compliance is what we're looking for, not penalties. So we try to work with them, see if there's a reason they can't become compliant. And then if they just don't want to, they end up going to the special magistrate, which is a hearing at that point. And the special magistrate will then look at the evidence listed in the documentation and the photos, and then they'll decide if there needs to be a fine maybe imposed upon them.
One thing that flies under the radar for most people, even some of my bosses, is how successful you are in getting voluntary compliance. 99.99 and then some more of your cases that you deal with are voluntary compliance. And we've had, I believe, 2 code enforcement special magistrate hearings in the last 4 years. And that's not for lack of being out there enforcing the code. That's because you are very good at working with folks, understanding sometimes there's a hardship, you give extra time, and getting that voluntary compliance. And so kudos to you, Linda, for a good job you do on that. One thing I'd like to zero in on a little bit more is I think some folks don't understand some of the difficulties we have in enforcing the code. Speak to us, it's recent, but it's been several years now, the state legislation that prohibits us from investigating anonymous complaints about code enforcement.
Yeah, state statute does dictate that I cannot act upon an anonymous complaint. When somebody files a complaint or registers a concern, they do have to leave their first, last name, and their address. I can't come out and see about that, unless, of course, it would be a life safety concern. Like a pool, for example, that's left unattended and exposed, as in the fence around your pool has gone down. That could be an imminent life hazard. So I would act upon those that are, those can be anonymous. But the typical, the grass is too long over here, I can't act upon anonymous complaints.
Some other larger cities are very proactive in looking at every property due to staffing limitations here, i.e. it's half of Linda's time doing code enforcement. You just don't have time to be out looking at every single property every few weeks like some other cities do. So, the thing I remember is pre-legislation change. We weren't working together at the time, but we each had the same experience of dealing with neighbors who would get mad at each other and file anonymous code complaints against each other. And to me, that was the genesis of the change in legislation, but it did have a negative consequences of sometimes people don't want to leave their name because it's a public record. and
Right.
then we're in a bad situation where a violation's been reported, but we can't act upon it. I appreciate all you do, Linda, of doing multiple people's job in a single person. There is a slightly bad fire pun of where there's smoke, there's fire. But I know personally where Linda lives, the saying on the weekend is where there's smoke, there's flavor, because our viewers probably don't know, but most people at City Hall know and appreciate that you are a master smoker on the weekends. Tell us how you got into that and some of your favorite woods you like to smoke with.
Well, just start like most folks, just like the grill, like the outside cooking flavor. And I would just try to emulate some of the foods I've had in different places and get that flavor at home and try different things. So, I've kind of come to like more of the hearty smokes, the oaks and the hickories with, some stronger flavored meats, some ribs. Nothing beats that.
Mm-hmm.
But then I like using some apple or peach, and even smoking cheese and nuts.
Mm-hmm.
It's good. But my jerky right now is my all-time favorite. Smoke some jerky, make a little teriyaki with a little apple smoke. Whew. Where there's smoke, there's flavor. You're right.
Yeah, your jerky is very sought after in the workplace. And just for clarification, Linda's reference of nuts was tree nuts, not people she works with at City Hall. So thank you, Linda, for joining us. Before I wrap up, I'd like to introduce you to one of the behind-the-scenes people who've been very instrumental in our Beachside Chat. Tristan, please come into the viewing area. This is Tristan Young, our IT specialist. He has been instrumental in helping us with our live stream and getting Beachside Chats up and running. Unfortunately for us, but congratulations for Tristan and your family, he's leaving us to move to North Carolina to start a new chapter in his life. So thank you, Tristan, for all you've done, and the legacy that you leave here with Beachside Chats. And you want to give a shout out to your fiance and little girl while you're on camera?
Yeah, absolutely. Big shout outs to Tara and Yona. Those are my girls. The whole reason I'm doing all this and getting on out of here. I got to go up a month before them, so I'm going to be a little bit of a lonely guy up there. But it's been a pleasure getting this all set up for you guys and starting, like you said, starting a legacy of these cool Beachside Chat interviews. I happy to be a part of it, and look forward to checking it out once I'm gone and seeing how things, progress and adjust as time carries on.
All right, thank you, Tristan.
Thank you, guys.
And that wraps up this episode. Please tune in next month. Our May Beachside Chat will be Jordan Chandler of Waste Management. And although you may think we're going to talk trash, it isn't college football season, but we will be talking about services that Waste Management provides and things they do behind the scenes to be good environmental stewards of the resources that we have. So thank you for watching. Together, IHB cannot fail.